Hello and welcome again to the FaceBuilding Podcast, episode 25, with your amazing host, Vladi Kuna and
Norman Gräter. Hi, guys.
hello. Today, as already mentioned in the last episode 24, we talk about attitude. And I just checked my phone and I have a file on my phone by Earl Nightingale and it's called attitude. And he says the most important word when you want to be successful basically is what is your attitude. And Vladi found her old diary, or one of her old diaries with Bob Proctor, and she will read us something that will lead us into the topic.
You know, I love this sentence. So it says, no one can criticize you unless you let them. Let's read it again. No one can criticize you unless you let them. Now, what does it really mean is if I offer you a gift and you don't accept it, then it stays with me. And now bring it into criticism. I can offer you a criticism, but it's just my opinion. If you don't accept it, don't allow it to take it in, it stays with me. It's the same thing as the gift. And so the key is do not let it in. I've written myself a note here to say it brings the ultimate confidence. So you learn to control and eliminate the fear of judgment and immediately build a strong sense of self-esteem. So going even further to that is you know you are a worthwhile person. It doesn't matter what other people say or think about you. It is really you who allows that or makes assumptions about what people think of me. You know, we create this in our daily lives like, oh, what would they think of me if I do that? I would really love to take this action, or I would really love to do this, but we're afraid of judgment. We're afraid, we have this fear of being rejected. It's a very common fear, like fear of being rejected, which creates more of us needing the approval. And I know we talked about this in the past, the approval is really something I had to work on. Like when I started actually 7 years ago to dig down, and it was actually funnily enough, it was Norman who was helping me up this subject. And we didn't even think that 7 years ago we'll be still studying together and rendezvousing in the same mastering circles, not even running a podcast. But when you actually stay aligned to your energies, that's what happens. You surround yourself with the best people, you get to know each other, and things lead you the right path. So don't take in what you don't believe, because one of the rules from Don Miguel Ruiz in the 4 Agreements is don't take things personally. And that's what happens. We get upset because it touches our ego. It touches, and not always the ego. It can be actually touching the hurtful experience in the past. And we created a certain belief around that. And if it happens again or somebody touches that subject, it automatically brings us back to the moment where we created the belief and affirmed it. What is the attitude you take? Bringing it back to the attitude. Attitude is the environment you carry with yourself. It is that decision you make where you say no more, or I am worthy and I deserve this. Like really go into the positive cycle, because attitude is a cycle. It's just the way we think. Opening the loops, as Norman talked about, go back into, okay, how can I be better? How do I feel about this? Why do I feel upset about this? Why did this person made me feel mad? Or why am I so angry about this? What is that thing? Don't postpone these things. If something upsets you or you really feel it flamed you up, it's the phrase. How do you feel about that? What is that feeling you have? I am angry because, and dig deeper, because that is how you take the best attitude, seeing good in everything and everybody. Attitude is everything. Like it really, truly is. It's gratitude and attitude. But what do you think, Norman?
I'm just being reminded, and I try to juggle it together in my mind, a quote I heard, I think from Les Brown. He said, if you don't have an enemy within, the enemy from without can do you no harm. Was going a bit like that. and it touches on what you just shared, Vladi. I was being reminded that I spoke to a gentleman yesterday, and he said, you're lucky, you're gifted with what you do on stage. You're really gifted, and you do this all your life. And I said, actually, no. Actually, no. For 36 years of my life, I never ever thought that I have a talent or gift. I was working with many artists backstage. I was one step behind them, holding their water, bringing them the Sharpies to sign autographs, to make their life better, that they can be the best version they can because they have fans. They have people that adore them. Artists and singers and musicians that change other people's lives. I supported them because I always thought I have no gift on my own. I could never be one on stage, but I was behind the stage. So my first keynote came and I realized, oh, this on stage thing feels so good. Not from my ego side, but it was just a feeling like I belong here, that I probably should stay. And while I listened to you, Vladi, I was also reminded of my past. The first keynotes I gave, I was totally connected on stage and doing my thing and being, let's say, the hero for the people watching me. And sometimes I wondered why, if they applauded me, there were standing ovations, but after I spoke, the people did not really approach me when I was off stage, and I wondered. And Anke actually gave me the idea after a couple of keynotes where she watched me. She said, the moment you leave the stage, your total attitude changes. You go from the, I am someone, I have a message to tell, I want to take you by my hand, I inspire you, I give everything I have. Back to the introverted, I'm not good, I am not able to do something, I don't have a gift. I moved back to my old self, to the old attitude. It was like I put up my costume for the show, I did the show, I came back the moment I was on ground level again. I was back to the old Norman. And the introverted, shy, not hero-like person, why should people approach this person? Because they said, oh, who's he? Where's the guy that was on stage? So people were confused in the beginning. And I had to train that. And I think in one of the other podcasts, I mentioned it briefly. Right now, I have certain songs. One money song is money, 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 money. There are several money songs where I really practice that. I practice walking. I practice the state, the inner attitude. I was made for loving you, baby, in a live version. I play this song, 4.5 minutes, and I walk from the bedroom through the hallway into the kids' room and back and forth and back and forth. Pretending and not pretending, but being it. And I use the song as kind of a crunch for me to say when I hear the song, I go in a different posture. I really had to learn that. I really had to change my attitude through maybe a different outfit. Maybe the music could help you. Use tools on the outside. But don't just wear an expensive dress or expensive suit to say, oh, the suit will do the trick. No, 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 no. If we have nothing that's within that shines, the shine through the clothes or your car or your golden business card or whatever will not really be reflected by others. They will smell that there's something off. So you really have to practice that. And looking back at the keynote I gave yesterday, the moment I walked into this building, I was there. And not even the moment I walked into the building, but already driving to there, getting up in the morning, I sang, oh, happy day, beautiful day. I brought myself into the best state ever. So I became this person of attitude, of positivity. Again, it's nothing that falls in your lap. You have to practice, like riding a bike or like cooking or whatever. That's the thing that just hopped in my mind to hopefully support what your attitude can be supported with, that you have more success and more beam of light from within.
I love that, Norman. You know, it reminds me, I actually use daily affirmations. I have a phenomenal attitude. I've been in such a great habit of using it. And it's one of the gratitude. Actually, I use it in my gratitude journal as a thank you for my phenomenal attitude. So, you know, you don't have to just write in your journal, since we're linking attitude and gratitude, that, oh, I'm grateful for a car and I'm grateful for the job I have. Go to things like, I put things like, I'm not going to line it all up here, but I'll give you a couple of things. I have a phenomenal attitude. I also use something like, I am grateful for my extraordinary thinking. And I'm grateful for my eyes that can see and hands that can move and eyes. Like, I really go to the deep level of gratitude. Obviously, when I look at my gratitude journals 7 years ago, they were more like a car, new job, and like book publishing. And it was very in the physical world. Whereas if you become that highest version of yourself, and like we always impressing this idea on you guys, the inner world, it is inside you what you're shifting, those little shifts. And you can make a small shift in your attitude and experience huge change in your results. Like tiny shifts in your attitude, making it really good. I'm going to read something to you because I've discovered this old journal as we were talking before. And I'm so fascinated with my own writing. And a few years ago, I used to write these 2 pages all the time. Now, I won't read the whole thing, but I do like this one. My attitude is constantly setting up the cause and effect system. Now think about that. Your attitude today is creating a future. So whatever you're setting up, whatever you're vibrating and projecting with your attitude, that's what comes back to you multiplied. Not just comes back to you, multiplied. But it works for great attitude and it also works for really crappy attitude. So really pay attention what your attitude is. And it renews itself in my results. So attitude has everything to do with results. And actually, one thing before I forget, I wanted to point out to you guys. Our former mentor, Bob Proctor, used to say attitude consists of thinking, feeling, and action. You have to have all 3 components to have a great attitude. So it's how you think, how you feel, and based on that, what actions you take and what is the attitude you're taking them with. It's important to realize that while we may have a spectacular attitude in one area of life, like health, we could have a poor attitude in another area, such as finances and relationship. So we become what we think about. I want you to read that because I want you to think about this. How, if you're in a business, like I remember we had this chat with Norman actually, when I was in London in the corporate world, I grew into the attitude. I grew into my self-esteem gone up by being in that, by experiencing it, by twisting. It's like molding a clay. You don't just wake up one morning and say, okay, I'm going to have the best attitude ever. Now, yes, please do say that. However, it's not going to happen to the quantum leap. You have to take the baby steps one by one. It's tweaking it. And your self-esteem is the base for confidence. I love Norman's story because truly that's what all we desire. We talk about money, we talk about positions, but when you have that inner power of self-esteem building you into the most amazing inner confidence that comes from within, people don't care what you say or whether you say it right or whether it's incorrect in English. People pick up on your energy. And when you're aligned with yourself, it's like when we were talking about sales last episode, people are paying attention to your energy. And you're convicting people by saying things because you must, in order to produce this energy, you must believe it. And I always said to them, well, like I always used to say to guys, I can't sell things I'm not truly aligned with. So I am only recommending things to people. And this has happened even in the times I had no money. I was in situations when the sale would make my month because I was really not having a great month, not making any sales. You know, you're coming with like, come on, visualizing and seeing the clients. And I had then a moment where I could have closed the client and have like 15 grand straight away. Would I do it? No. And that actually brought me to where I am because those are the moments. It's easy to align to your great attitude when everything goes well. When you have a financial freedom and time freedom and you do the job that you love, your health is amazing, you have an amazing partner and you have brilliant friends and you're traveling around the world, of course your attitude is going to be great. Mind you, I'm pretty sure there might be few people whose attitude is not great even in the situations like this, but let's say averagely it is. It's what is your attitude when things go wrong? That's who really comes out. That's the real you that comes out. And that is that us inner part, we have to mold like a clay. We have to work on ourselves. We have to bring it back and consciously make a decision. Okay, I don't want to be this person. What do I need to do not to react instead of responding? How can I make people feel good today? I love that actually, Norman. I'm going to actually changing how are you to how do you feel?
That's good.
Are you
And
feeling well?
yes. And guys, listen to episode 23 and 24 again if you did not do that yet about what Vladi just shared. It comes from within. When you mentioned you could sell everything that you basically had your heart in, I was reminded that this is the golden rule that they tell you in network marketing. They said you need to use the own product. And sometimes if you go to cosmetics or to perfume, with network marketing companies, their products are more valuable or more expensive than if you go to a discounter. And I remember when I was doing this many, many years ago, that people said, yes, but I cannot afford it. I want to do network marketing to gain money. But if I spend it first on the company's products, that's their system. They want to rip me off. They just want to sell their products. No, it's not about that they want to sell the products, but you need to fall in love with the products. Yeah. Otherwise, it's always you need to sell something that you don't use. So if you want to sell a cream for 15 euros and your possible prospect asks, so how is the cream? And you say, I don't know, I use the one from the discounter. What's the vibration you're sending out? Oh, I want to sell something because it makes money. What we spoke about in the last episode. Can you shine? Now I'm the yellow one. Imagine you're ordering a pizza and a pizza delivery guy rings at your door 30 minutes later and you push the door open with a big smile and he says, so did you order the pepperoni cheese pizza? And you nod your head and you look at him and you look at the pizza and you look at him and again at the pizza, because this guy is having your pizza on his hand, on his flat hand. Now get me right, it's your actual pizza. It's not coming in a box or something, in a vehicle, in a vessel. It's the real pizza laying on his bare hand and the cheese is oozing down his arm and dripping in your hallway. And probably the first question you would have is, excuse me, where is the box? Where is the box? The moment I order a pizza, I thought that it comes in a vessel, that the pizza comes in a box. Now, to be quite honest, a pizza box has no great value. Maybe it's 5 cents or 10 cents maximum. The value is not that high. But the value increases a lot by what is placed into it, which means not the box gives value to the pizza, but the pizza gives value to the box. I meet so many people that do their very best that their 10-cent box, their outside body, their thing what they show with their clothes and their cars and with whatever they present with rings and watches and hats and glasses, it's just a 10-cent box. If you have nothing from within to put into the box, it will always be a pimped 10-cent box. And please get me right, you can Botox yourself to heaven and back, or boost your butt or your boobs or whatever in any way, or get the wrinkles out of your face. I'm with you. It's totally okay. Still, do you have something that comes from within where you say, I have such a shine, a ray from the inside that reflects the attitude we spoke about last time? My self-image, when I walk into a room, the sun rises and I did not speak one word. It's not that I have to be the loudest. No. How about your inner energy shines so bright that people don't even check your box? And before I hand it back to Vladi, I'm being reminded of a story that Wayne Dyer shared many years ago, when he said one of his professors in school or university, I think it was, gave the students a task, and he said, a self-aware person comes to a dinner party and he comes in bathing pants. Everybody is dressed in tuxedos and dresses and jewelry and looks nice. What is happening with the self-aware person? What is he saying or thinking? And this was the task for the students. They made tiny little groups. They discussed about it and they had great explanations. One group said he will go back home and he will change. The other group said he will excuse himself. The third group said, yeah, he stands over it. He gives the impression that he does not care. And the teacher or the professor said, no, you're all wrong. The really self-aware person would not even recognize that there's something off. Because the self-aware person would see the true self of all the other ones. He would not see the box, he would see the pizza. He would see the inside, the thing that shines. And everything, the outside, the box is just a cover. And who's really self-aware, who's really drawn from within, and probably a Buddha or Jesus kind of person, is just not looking at the person or the outside. And this is what I heard about Jesus from, I think from a priest. He said, Jesus never saw the person itself, never the 10-cent box. He always saw the possibility of the person. And the outside box is just not interesting. And I think that's really the queen or the king version of living a life. When you are able to see the true spirit, the true self, the true attitude from the person and not just the 10-cent box.
I love that story because that brings me into how much we place the importance of how we look, where we live. Is our house bigger than somebody else's? The comparison and competition in this world are your enemies these days. It's not that you create from within. You feel less worthy because your friends bought a bigger house, and you feel less worthy because your car is not, whatever else. But it really becomes the problem within you because it's your attitude to life. And I'd like to bring this again. Attitude to life. If you're aware of what your core values are, and I'm going to invite you to really think what your core values are. I was laughing with Norman yesterday because I went to Edinburgh this weekend to see Esther Hicks and Abraham. And I'm sure somehow my core values are freedom, growth, and joy. Obviously family as well, but we're talking in a personal development sense, okay? So obviously friends, my connections and friends are everything. To me, people are the realest valuable. But when we're talking in a sense of growth, and I walked in there and she actually had signs of freedom, growth, and joy. At some point, I must have heard it or incorporated or made notes and created this, embedded them into my core values because I loved it. I was drawn to it. But it was so nice to see all of them. What are your 3 core values? Because really, if you align yourself with your core values, no matter what you do, personal, business, life, you have to align whatever decisions you make and whatever you do with your core values. That actually creates the attitude to life. And I love what Norman was talking about because when Esther had someone on the hot seat, this person, obviously she picks people from the front because, she usually picks from the front part with the energetically aligned people. But the first day, or it kind of gone through people from the front. So somebody right at the back of the 2,000 people shouts, why don't you, she says, oh, are you all refreshed? So what would you love? And somebody shouts, well, we want you to pick someone from the back. She was so loud. It was an amazing lady. She made the whole room laugh. We were clapping to her and she was like, I want to go there from the front. So eventually Esther said, okay, the one you shouting, come on down. So she comes to the seat. And the whole talk, I'm not going to go into details, but the point I'm making towards the attitude you have. After having this conversation with her, she said, well, we picked you because your desire was strong. But we wanted to also demonstrate to all of you guys that we would have picked you even if you were silent. But sometimes you guys want to be seen and heard, so you come to the front. But you're being picked. Also, if you aligned, you're being picked on your seat. Your questions being answered by someone else. And I could vouch for it. This is the 3rd event I've done with her, and every single question I always have gets answered. Somebody says that or she talks about it. There hasn't been one single time that actually I left them thinking, well, I didn't get that answer. Because when you're silent, that's where the magic happens. And that's what Norman was talking about. You don't need to be shouting to the world. And by showing ourselves through the materialistic world, we think we get more approval from people. But who are you inside? Are you really living the life you would love with joy? Are you traveling because you want to, or are you just focusing everything you do in your life, which is the thinking, feeling, and actions? Remember what we talked about. Are you focusing all this into, wow, I'm creating the life so I can be seen better by others? Or are you doing it because I would love it? You know, I always laugh with my daughter. She always says, like, you know, Range Rover Sports, new version, that's the car you would love to drive. I love speed. I love acceleration. Would I choose that car to be better than anyone else? No, but I would love, because driving is my thing. I spent so much time in a drive. I love just hopping in a car, driving up to Scotland for hours and hours, doing a hike. It brings me so much joy that it would really be fulfilling my inner being. Would a yacht or a private jet be the same? No. It doesn't fire my soul. It doesn't ring my bells, as we're talking about. So what is the thing? And this is the attitude you have to life. Is it your attitude? Or are you adopting somebody else's attitude just to fit in or be better? Because that is crucial for your creation. I've heard a quote, and I'll hand it back to North to close. Yesterday, my friend sent me, it was in Czech, but she sent me a lady weighing herself on the scales. Obviously, you know, the looking at the weight, thinking, oh, you know, I'm heavy. She literally positively took an attitude of, because I have a golden heart and the nerves made of steel, I must be weighing this weight. Because with these two things, you can't be light. And, you know, it made me laugh that it's your perception to things that is really linked to an attitude. You can look at a weight and say, oh my God, I'm so fat. I need to lose weight, you know, since we're talking about weight. But are you taking that attitude? Or are you saying, I am so grateful for my body can move and stuff. And yes, the happier I am, the better I will look, because that inner happiness reflects how you actually are. And whether you're weight and certain weights, if you keep saying to yourself, you're fat, obviously that's the signal. The brain goes and say, I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat. So rephrase that. Take a different attitude. Say, focus on being so happy in your own body. Every cell of my body is joyful and we are loving this life. And you will see how fast you actually be fit and firm and radiant. Since we're talking about weight, but it works for everything. It works for money, for relationships, for job, for anything, you name it. So really, what is your attitude to life? Do you follow your things and desires, or you follow someone else's? And let me read the quote we started with. No one can criticize you unless you let them. So you don't like the gift someone's giving you, don't take it. You can say no thank you and walk away. Because it's just as easy as that. Actually, we're making things so much harder on ourselves in so many ways that we really need to. And almost we want to place this label, oh, I'm a hero because I'm dealing with such a stressful situations. People like talking about it as if they're making themselves proud that they're wearing this baggage. But really, when you surround yourself with amazing people and living a happy and joyful life, yes, we occasionally are in situations where it almost feels like somebody put a heavy load on our shoulders. But that's why if you're surrounded by the right people, then they can help you. Because we can't always carry everything alone. But really change the attitude and everything in your life will change. A little shift, a huge difference. Norman.
I want to close it with a spin-off quote based on what Vladi just shared. I saw this 3 days ago on Facebook, and it said, you're never too important to be nice to people. Again, because it's so nice. You're never too important to be nice to people. Your job might be important, your car might be important, your Rolex might be important, but can you have the attitude to just be nice? Just be nice to other people, because whatever you put out, you will get back. And no Rolex and no job title gives you the right to treat people in a not very nice and mean way. Because at the end of the day, what people like, all the million friends that you have and the followers and whatsoever, they love your job title. They love your car. But if you don't have the job anymore and you don't have the car anymore, people will forget you because they never liked you as a person, as a human being. They just liked what you presented on the outside, your 10-cent box. And if you're aware that it's all about your inner attitude, what we spoke about today, very often, then you will have the right tool to live a long and fulfilling life and a happy life. And we wish you all the best working on your attitude. Do something every day to work on your inner attitude, and then you will shine much more on the outside. And we look forward to hear you again or see you again in the next episode. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, guys.